Hello. So I still don't really have a watch to time me, so if I go over, I go over. Finally got the replacement in, and it was a interesting ordeal to get the replacement in. But it's here, it's doing its thing, it's just going to be a minute before it's quite ready to use. For now, we hope that we just stick to roughly 20 minutes. So I'm going to talk about Lent. What is that? I'm glad you asked. Well, as I've mentioned in a few videos, I'm Catholic, and part of that is all of the religious holidays that come in with it. And I wanted to talk about it because it's come up a couple times now. So if you're unaware, this past Wednesday was known as Ash Wednesday, which is the beginning of the Lenten season. And since it started, I've had and heard so many questions about it that I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about it. This isn't going to go into the details. Like, I'm not trying to teach a crash course on Lent for people who don't know what it is, but I kind of wanted to cover some of the high points for people who maybe aren't Catholic, who don't quite know what to do with us right about now. First off, Lent is one of the seasons. I knew that was going to happen too. I should have separated them earlier. Lent is one of the seasons in the Catholic calendar, which is right before Easter. It starts on Ash Wednesday. It runs about 40 days. During this time, Catholics are encouraged to do things to make themselves better. So some people give things up. When we're kids, we kind of are encouraged to do things like give up candy, give up sugar, give up sodas, things like that, because the idea is you don't need them and it's supposed to make you healthier. As you get older, we start to get a little more into depth. Well, maybe you should pray every day, or maybe you should add something good, volunteer, do things that hopefully will stick for the rest of your life. So the whole sugar candy thing usually doesn't stick for a lot of people, and that's why as you get older, it gets more in depth. In addition to this, we are asked to do two things, fasting and abstaining. Now, fasting, most people kind of know what it is. You don't eat food, and it's not every day. So before you freak out, I am eating, okay? On special days during Lent, we fast, which is not like we don't eat at all, although some people do. It is, you can have one meal and two snacks, which do not equal a meal. And days like Ash Wednesday are one of those days that we fast and abstain. So, Ash Wednesday, I had one meal and then two small meals. And then I mentioned abstaining. Abstaining is when we abstain from eating meat. So that's like pork, chicken, and beef. We don't eat any of that. What we do eat is fish or vegetables or tofu if you're into that. And it came up today in that regards because abstaining happens every single Friday throughout Lent. So today, every Friday until Easter. We will not be eating meat. It came up because part of my job is to go during lunch time for the workplace. The kids that are getting mentored come over, and it's really great. But again, it's during lunch, so they feed them. And one of the other kids that was in my group today is Catholic and was practicing, which means that she's not eating meat today. And it wasn't something that was considered by everybody, so there wasn't a separate dish for meat. Fortunately, it was a really nice meal. They served soup in the beginning that didn't have meat. The main course was a grain and a meat, so you could just like separate it and not eat the meat, and it was fine, and it was really good. So it worked out. But I realized when she brought it up that nobody else really knew what was going on, and there was a lot of questions being asked, primarily by her classmates sitting next to her going like, what is this? What are you talking about? She even asked her what like some of the prayers were. She was like, yeah, I got to say like some Hail Marys and Our Fathers later. And she was like, what are those? And it was really interesting, and I really enjoyed watching this interaction. But I kind of realized in that moment, especially with some of the questions that had gotten asked on Wednesday, because again, not eating throughout the day, just like one meal, 2 snacks, which for me is usually dinner, so I was not eating throughout the day, and there was a lot of questions. I realized that there's probably not a lot that people know. So, the majority of the time, you do not need to special accommodate us, okay? I recognize that not everybody is a practicing Catholic, so if for days like today, I didn't say anything because I knew that if they were going to serve meat, I could do something like separate it and eat half, and it's fine. Or just, not eat everything. Like, I didn't have to eat the main meal. I was going to eat, like, the soup and then the dessert at the end, and I would have been fine. I could have come home and made something to eat. Or if people go out to, if a couple friends of mine called me today and said, hey, do you want to go to steakhouse? I'd be like, it wouldn't be ideal. If I can change your mind, it'd be great. But if they're going to go, there's other things I can eat. It's very similar to having a friend that's a vegetarian. Like, we've learned to eat on those days. Like, don't worry about it. But yes, it is from Ash Wednesday, which you can Google it. When is Ash Wednesday? And you can find out if you're really curious, which was this past Wednesday. And then it's every Friday till Easter, which Easter is, I want to say, the second Sunday in April this year. I had to look it up because next month, during the same visit, it is always on a Friday, we will still be in Lent. So I just wanted to let her know, like, hey, because you have a kid here that, is practicing, you might want to have at least a plate for her. Again, I'll manage. I'm pretty self-sufficient. But when it comes to this, a lot of the times we kind of get used to getting asked questions, so don't really stress about it. People are comfortable around us. Like, it's not that foreign. We just, like, for me, growing up in the area I did, there's just a lot of Catholics, and kind of, we've been doing this since I was little, so most of the friends I made were Catholic, and it just really wasn't a big deal. Like, everybody kind of already assumed I knew. So it was new to me to go in to, like, work on Ash Wednesday with my ashes on my head because I had training, and then just show up and everybody be like, what is going on? Like, and it was kind of funny because it was about 3 more of us that were there also with our ashes, and they kind of were like, look, you guys are all doing the same thing. What is this? And it was really funny, but it gave me a good, like, little educational moment for everybody else. So I keep saying ashes and Ash Wednesday, and I'm going to go in a little bit into that. So at the beginning of Lent, again, on Ash Wednesday, a lot of us go to church, and part of we go through the Mass, and then depending on your priest, at some point in it, there's the distribution of ashes. So, yes, they are actual ashes, and they come from the palms from the previous year from Easter. There is a lot of tradition in this, and I'm probably going to cover the whole Easter thing at some other point, but we're just going to assume we know what the palms during Palm Sunday before Easter are. So those palms get turned into ashes, and the ashes are blessed, and the priest and a couple of other people who are helping him distribute them. And by distribute them, they usually put their thumb in, like, a bowl of ashes, and they draw the sign of the cross on your forehead. It is a running joke among Catholics which kind of symbol you're going to get. There are plenty of, like, images and all sorts of things because it's kind of funny between us because, we do it every year. Some priests are really good about, like, you get 2 straight lines and you're golden. Other people, it's like you get 1 big line and then, like, 2 grayish dots kind of there. It's just... So if you hear people joking about it, that's what it is. You're just kind of curious what you're going to get. But these ashes are supposed to symbolize what we believe, which is that we were born from dust, and to dust we will return. Which, if you read the Bible, we were made from dust. It's part of the creation story. And then when you die, you become dust again. And it's a whole thing. It's honestly one of my favorite masses because I really like the readings and I like the whole symbolism behind it. It is very rich. And it's always interesting to see what every priest says because everybody has their own way to explain it to people. I happened to go to a mass that had a lot of children that day, so it was really fun to just kind of watch him explain to them and then get really excited asking questions, and it was really nice. But that's why we have ashes on our forehead. So, as I mentioned, Ash Wednesday, we were fasting. Part of it is supposed to be that during Lent is a season of sacrifice and change, and we're trying to, be closer to God during this time. Because if you follow the Lenten calendar, at the end of Lent, it ends on Easter. The days leading up to it is when we go through Good Friday, which Good Friday for us is the day that we celebrate Jesus' death. And I say celebrate because of what it meant. He died for us so that we can go to heaven. Yes, I realize, right now, as people are continuing watching, it's a very religious video today, okay? So he dies, gives his life for us, and he rises again on Easter. So if you didn't know this, that's kind of what Lent to Easter is. It's a very, very, surface level explanation of it. But the reason I'm explaining this is because he's going through things, and especially on Good Friday, he carries his cross from the bottom of a mountain to the top of a mountain by himself. And I'm not talking like a little cross. I'm talking like the one he's going to be hung up on. And it's very heavy, and he does the whole thing. It's very intense. If you go to some of the live walks, because everybody does it different. Some of them are just you walk between stations. Some people act it out. And it's very intense if you watch it. If you've ever watched The Passion, which is a movie that covers this, it is very intense. And he is doing this because he loves us. And he is giving his life so that we can one day go to heaven. That being said, Lent is a season of sacrifice, of change, and I've mentioned it, positive change. So you're probably going to start hearing a lot of your friends and coworkers and whoever you know that is Catholic mentioning things like, I gave up something for Lent, or I'm doing something for Lent. I've already heard somebody say that they've given up sodas. Somebody said they gave up candy. I know that me and my husband try to read a book that's got prayers in it. I say try because I'm very forgetful, and it's an effort for me to remember where I leave the book, because we'll read it wherever we're at. Some people will pray a rosary. Some people will read the Bible. My church does a thing that's 40 cans for Lent, so they ask you to collect, when you go do your grocery shopping, add a few extra cans and then give them to the food pantry that they run. Other people are suggesting things like, why don't you go through your closet every day and get rid of a piece of clothing that you no longer wear that is in good condition, and give it to your local shelter or somewhere that will distribute them to the people who need it. So the whole thing is that we are trying to give of ourselves to become better. So you want to pray more so you get closer to God. You want to give up bad habits. You want to give your clothes to somebody who needs it, food to people who need it, and so on and so forth. So that's probably something that you're going to be hearing, especially from the younger people, like kids who are like, I can't have sodas, and I'm upset, and I'm frustrated, and all of these things because I did it too. So this, again, 40 days, it'll end on Easter, and then there's the Easter celebration and all of that. Leading up to it, I know that Good Friday, as I mentioned, is another day that we fast. So, if you are planning a soiree or you want to go to a buffet, please do not ask us on Good Friday. Every other day, we will figure it out, but not on Good Friday, please. Again, I wanted to come in and talk about it because my faith is something I live every day, and I just didn't quite realize how few people knew a lot about it. I've always lived in very Catholic areas and made a lot of friends, and a lot of my family are all very Catholic. So it didn't occur to me until this year how many people don't know a lot about it. How many people don't think about it. How this is just another day for them. And it's like, oh, that happened? What's this thing? So I wanted to share some thoughts, some feelings, explanations, just so the next time you see me, if it's on a Friday and you offer me a steak, I might be a little cranky. If you want to know more, just send a message, leave a comment. If you want to learn more, there's also plenty of sites, and I can't think of them off the top of my head, that you can go to and read more on this. You can go to your local Catholic church. You don't actually have to be Catholic to go ask them questions. Like, we love answering questions. We want people to know more. And yeah, short, sweet, to the point, right? So as we go through Lent, just be mindful of that, and, start asking people when you do things. I know I personally am doing my best to try to learn more about other people and their faiths, because I think it's really interesting, the similarities and all of that sort of thing. But yeah, that's it. That's Lent in a nutshell. Thanks for listening.